So the plan for this afternoon for this practice day. So this is the practice day for the Bodhichitta module of what is it? How to develop Bodhichitta, I think it's called, of discovering Buddhism. Um, we have 3 hours together. So basically it's just guided meditation. No, we'll just meditate on the different steps of generating bodhicitta that we've already gone through in the different sessions. And we had 6 sessions, right, before this. And we'll do so in a way, the main thing we looked at was the two methods for generating bodhicitta, the sevenfold cause and effect method, which the main contemplation is recognizing all sentient beings having been one's mother, or having been similarly kind to oneself. And then the method of equalizing and exchanging self and others, so which has 5 steps in that method, where it builds up to Tonglen, practicing giving and taking. So there's a way which I didn't get to in the 6 sessions where we had explanation of combining those two in a method with about 13 steps, 12 or 13 steps. Um, so we'll go through all of the different steps in that way, in that combined way. Then we have 3 hours. So we'll basically meditate for about 45 or 50 minutes, um, and then have a break. So we'll have about a 10-minute break every hour. And then also because, to meditate for 50 minutes straight is a bit much for many people. So I'll give you opportunity to have a 2 or 3 minute break in the middle of each of those periods. Um, so yeah, and then if you like, you can, stand up, move around a bit, just for that, relax, for 2 or 3 minutes, and then we'll start again, or we'll see 4 or 5, we'll see how it goes. But if you'd like to keep meditating right through that, of course, you're welcome to do that. Um, yeah, so that's the plan for the afternoon. So we'll spend the 3 hours. Let's start with some prayers first, which I'll open up and share in just a minute. Yeah, here I'll do these, just some short prayers. And then we'll generate a motivation briefly. Okay. Mm. So take a moment to just get comfortable in your meditation posture. Focus your mind on your breath for a minute or two, or another object of placement meditation. Mm. And then, if you like, you can visualize Shakyamuni Buddha in the space before you as the founder of the Buddha's teachings, the dissemination of the Buddha's teachings in the world, and so is the source for all of the things we've been discussing in relation to Bodhichitta, and of course all of Buddhism in this course. So, if you like, you can visualize Buddha in the space before you at the height of your crown or your forehead, a couple of meters distant, seated upon a golden throne embellished with jewels, supported by 8 white lions, snow lions. Upon that is a fully open lotus blossom with 1,000 petals. Upon that is a moon disk and a sun disk, so 2 disks of disk of white light and a disk of yellow light, like a cushion, upon which the Buddha sits on these, on the lotus, sun, and moon disk. And then Shakyamuni Buddha sits upon these in Vajra cross-legged posture, wearing the robes of a fully ordained monk, his body the hue of refined gold, and completely made of light, radiating infinite light rays in every direction. Mm. And his right hand is on his palm face down on his right knee. The tips of the the tip of the middle finger touching the cushion upon which he sits. And then his left hand is in his lap, the palm face up, holding a begging bowl, like a monastic begging bowl, filled with blissful nectar, which has the power to heal any illness of body or mind. His shoulders are broad and even, and his face is smiling and looks upon you with great affection. His eyes are long and slender. Mm, Every aspect of his features are perfectly proportioned and attractive to look at, like the full moon in autumn. Mm. So mainly feel that Shakyamuni Buddha is in the space before you, and then we can offer. Yeah, and then also it's good to visualize. If you like to visualize extensively, you can think of the different lineage, lamas, Manjushri, and Maitreya, and then your own teachers are representing the Sangha, and then also a low table in front of Shakyamuni Buddha, upon which is a Dharma text made of the 7 precious substances and resounding with the sound of Dharma teaching. Mm. So then we can offer this praise to, and then, yeah, of course, visualize yourself surrounded by all sentient beings, beginning with your mother of this life. Imagine her seated at your immediate left, and all the female friends and family to your left and behind you. Those whom you naturally feel affection towards, feel supported by. And then at your right, imagine your father of this life and all your male friends and family seated to your right and behind you. Mm. And then seated in front, slightly low on a seat, slightly lower than yours at a comfortable distance, are those whom you're most prone to have disregard for or have enmity towards. Imagine them facing towards you in order to remind us to put special effort into practicing patience and other positive attitudes in regard to them. And then imagine all the all the beings of the 6 realms, from the lowest hells to the highest heaven, all seated around you in human form and meditating together with you. So then we can recite this first homage to Shakyamuni Buddha, and then, yeah, a short mandala offering, and the four measurable prayers. Compelled by great compassion, you taught the sacred Dharma. To dispel all wrong views, to you, the Buddha Gautama, I pay homage. Do not commit any unwholesome actions. Engage in perfect wholesome actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. And we offer a short mandala. This ground, anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the forest continents, the sun, and the moon. I imagine this as a Buddha land and offer it. May all transmigratory beings enjoy this pure land. Idam Guru Rana Mandala Kamyaratayami. Then we can recite this prayer of the four immeasurable thoughts. How wonderful it would be for all sentient beings to abide in equanimity, free from attachment to friends and anger towards enemies. May they abide in equanimity. I myself will cause them to abide in equanimity. Please, Guru Deity, bless me to be able to do this. How wonderful it would be for all sentient beings to have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they have happiness and its causes. I myself will cause them to have these. Please, Guru Deity, bless me to be able to do this. How wonderful it would be for all sentient beings to be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they be free from suffering and its causes. I myself will cause them to be free from these. Please, Guru Deity, bless me to be able to do this. How wonderful it would be for all sentient beings to never be separated from the happiness which is totally beyond suffering. May they never be separated from this. I myself will cause them to never be separated from this. Please, Guru Deity, bless me to be able to do this. And then generate the mind of refuge in the Buddha Dharma Sangha, recognizing we don't actually have the ability to free sentient beings from suffering and establish them in perfect happiness right now. But the Buddha, yeah, is the most skillful teacher at doing that, and his teachings, the Dharma, yeah, protect beings from suffering by teaching them, especially the law, karma, the law of cause and effect, how we take rebirth and die and create karma and experience the results of a karma we've created. Yeah, and then how to and teach the wisdom, which is able to cut the fundamental root cause of all suffering, and then the spiritual community, which assists us in practicing. So the first two lines in this prayer, I express refuge, and then the second two lines express the attitude of bodhicitta. So we can also go ahead and just generate, try to generate a bodhicitta motivation, thinking that in order to free all the numberless kind mother sentient beings who benefit are the source of all my well-being and happiness in this life, in past lives, in future lives up to enlightenment. Then I will, as quickly as I can, achieve the state of full enlightenment so that I can perfectly work for their welfare. And for that cause, for that reason, yeah, then I'll meditate on this attitude of bodhicitta for the next 3 hours. Also recognizing this is what's most beneficial for myself. Mm. Okay, so then we can recite this prayer together. I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my two collections of listening to the Dharma, May I become a Buddha to benefit transmigratory beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly by my two collections of listening to the Dharma. May I become a Buddha to benefit transmigratory beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly by my two collections of listening to the Dharma. May I become a Buddha to benefit transmigratory beings. Mm. So you can visualize, if you like, visualize from the pores of Shakyamuni Buddha's holy body, white light rays radiate out, purifying. On the tip of each light ray is an emanation of Shakyamuni Buddha, and an emanation comes to the crown of each of yourself and each sentient being seated around you. Mm. And then from these white nectar light pours down, flows down, filling your entire body and the bodies of all sentient beings, purifying you of every obstacle to generating bodhicitta, and in general, purifying you of all forms of suffering, discomfort, and the causes of those. So imagine you yourself and your body and mind and all sentient beings seated around you and the environment are completely pure of any obstructions, especially to generating bodhicitta. And then imagine from Shakyamuni Buddha's holy body, golden light rays radiate out. Again, on the tip of each one is an emanation of Shakyamuni Buddha. And then one emanation comes to the space above the crown of your head, facing the same way as you. And the same for all the other sentient beings seated around. And then from this golden nectar light flows down, filling your entire body and mind with wisdom and compassion and great bliss. Very joyful feeling. Mm. Mm. Yeah. And then Shakyamuni Buddha just remains there above the crown of your head as we meditate. So now, yeah, okay. So maybe so we're ready to start. Are there any questions about what we're planning to do for the afternoon? Are you all actually there? Huh. Oh, Nicole, you're here. Nicole comes in front. Oh, yeah. Hi, Bay. Okay, there's Bay. Oh, okay, Katie, Ladon, Joe, hello. Okay, great. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah. Okay, let's continue. You can turn your videos off if you like. It's okay. It's good to know. A few of you are there though. Otherwise, it's a bit strange. Okay. Okay. I guess there's no questions. Yeah, I didn't really expect there would be. It's quite clear. So let's start. I'll share my screen with the the different stages of the meditation. So again, we're going through the different stages of the sevenfold cause and effect method for generating bodhicitta and the equalizing and exchanging self and others method in a way that's combined. So this way of combining the two is found in I'm not sure it's in the Lamrim Chenmo. I don't think it is, but it's found in the Liberation in the Palm of Your Hand by Pabonka Rinpoche. Um, yeah, if you want to see it, see the source and read more about it. But it's pretty straightforward. So, yeah, so we begin with equanimity. So throughout the meditation, maintain this kind of visualization we just did, where you're self-surrounded by all sentient beings. Were you here for that? Oh, okay. Anyway, you know that. You know that though, right? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, visualize yourself surrounded by all sentient beings. Again, Max, I need a clock. Yeah. Okay. If you need anything, just ask one of them to get you it, to get it for you. When the sentient beings seated around you. Um, oh, there, great. Okay. Um, yeah, actually, I was thinking as we were doing the motivation before we start on this methods to generate bodhicitta, just to think about, um, yeah, how amazing it is to have the opportunity just to meditate on bodhicitta. Mm. Anyway, maybe we start. Maybe I was saying too much. So just start by refreshing the visualization of yourself surrounded by all sentient beings, as I described before, with your mother and father to your left and right, and so forth. And feel how you're interconnected with all of these beings in this life, in past lives, and then in the future, how you will be again and again from life to life. Mm. And then especially remember how, yeah, all these beings, they suffer in the same way we do. They have sickness, loneliness, misfortune, unpleasant sensations of body and mind, confusion, disappointment again and again. And then they experience birth, old age, sickness, and death, just like we do, again and again, and so forth. The sufferings of suffering, the suffering of change, or even pleasant experiences, they don't last. They quickly come to an end and transform into a suffering experience. And then especially pervasive compounding suffering. How just like me, where we have afflictive emotions arise just spontaneously in our mind due to habituation and in the past. And then things, unpleasant things happen to us due to the force of karma beyond our control. So just this state of being under the control of karma and afflictive emotions. Then not to mention all the other obvious things like, starvation or violence, abuse that beings experience. So generate compassion in that way, thinking of the suffering of sentient beings. Mm. And then especially, so we're just, embarking on this, now it's only 2.5 hours, I think, to meditate on bodhicitta. But think, if it's true, of course, bodhicitta is, remember, what is bodhicitta? It's the aspiration to achieve enlightenment. one's own enlightenment. So we think of our own future state of full enlightenment, and then aspiring, then have generate a wish to achieve that. Why? In order to free sentient beings from suffering, mainly, right? In order to, so all these sentient beings visualized are seated around us, with whom in actuality our lives are, connected with directly and indirectly in countless ways, day after day after day. So who are the source of our every form of um, enjoyment that we have, from, just a breath of fresh air, food, clothing, shelter, up to every most profound realization we've already had, and then up to our own future enlightenment. All that comes about in dependence upon each and every one of these sentient beings. Mhm. And then how, every one of these sentient beings, just like us, has the potential for full enlightenment, right? But almost none of them know that. No. So you know, it's like, I don't know, living in a heap of garbage and having a huge diamond in your pocket and not knowing it. No. So how incredibly fortunate we are to, have some understanding of our own potential for full enlightenment, a state in which is completely eliminated every fault and have developed to perfection every positive quality. Right? So, mm, so I'm incredibly fortunate just to know of that potential that we have, because the nature of the mind is that which is clear in knowing, and the capacity of the mind to be to be purified of, yeah, obscurations, purified of filth, and to develop its qualities of clarity and knowing are infinite, which means, of course, to develop all the other qualities that go together with that of loving kindness, compassion, generosity, joyous effort, patience, mental focus, and wisdom, understanding ultimate reality of phenomena, our potential, our capacity, our ability to develop all of those positive qualities to infinitely is there. So then how incredibly fortunate we are just to know about that. And then in addition to that, to have the aspiration to actually do that, right? To actually become free from every fault and then perfect every positive quality, not just for ourself alone, not for a selfish reason, but in order to benefit others, and not just one other or two others or those we like, but to benefit all other sentient beings without discrimination or bias. So such an incredible attitude, no? So we can also motivate that by, you know, by us making some effort this afternoon to meditate on bodhicitta and the methods to generate bodhicitta. Not only may we, um, you know, actually generate uncontrived bodhicitta in the future, you know, that arises spontaneously and continuously in our minds, that is continually present as a, you know, kind of force and attitude that's continually present in our minds. But may all other sentient beings, our mother, our father, our siblings, our spouse, our children, our neighbors, our friends, may this become a cause for all of them and every sentient being, all the hell beings, all the hungry ghosts, all the animals, all the humans, all the gods and demigods, without excluding one, for them all to similarly generate bodhicitta. Mm. And then briefly just reflect on the benefits of bodhicitta. To name a few that, you know, when we actually generate bodhicitta, then um, it's like you join the race of a Buddha. Just like if you're born into into a royal family, just by that you know you're in line to become the ruler, the king or queen. Similarly, by generating bodhicitta, by the force of that, is like you're born into the race of enlightened beings, because that's the main cause, you know, for full enlightenment, is the attitude compelled by great compassion, and then aspiring to achieve full enlightenment itself is the main cause to actually achieve full enlightenment. So you join the race of the Buddhas, you become a bodhisattva, and by virtue of that attitude, then you're superior to any other, you know, type of practitioner of the Buddhist path. Those, mainly those striving for just um, good rebirth and future lives, or those striving to just free themselves from the samsara, because this attitude is so much more vast, you know, aspiring to accomplish one's own highest potential in order to benefit all sentient beings. Then also just by generating the attitude, you know, in one moment, you accumulate a vast amount of merit, infinite amount of merit, positive qualities, an infinite amount of merit, and you purify obscurations, non-virtue, negative karma, and obscurations accumulated in the past. And you become an object of homage for others by virtue of having that attitude. Then anyone who makes offerings to you or does anything, you know, shows respect or does anything kind for you, is helpful for you, they also accumulate an incredible amount of merit because you become a powerful object, right, for others. And then finally, probably the main benefit is that day and night, as long as you have this attitude, then day and night continually, you're coming closer to enlightenment, right? You're continually coming closer to enlightenment. Mm. And then not to mention, it's incredibly pleasing to your teachers. It's the best offering to your teachers. It's pleasing to all the Buddhas. So it's the best way of repaying the kindness of Shakyamuni Buddha and all the lineage gurus, all your own teachers. It's the best way to please the mind of the guru. And then, yeah, not only you're coming closer to enlightenment moment by moment, as long as you have this attitude, you're also, because you're coming closer to enlightenment, and when you become enlightened, you're going to, work to continually and perfectly to bring other sentient beings to free them from suffering and lead them to enlightenment. So then, as long as every moment you have this attitude, you're actually bringing other sentient beings, all other sentient beings, closer to freedom from suffering and closer to their full enlightenment. Mhm. So really, it's like the best possible thing to do, to meditate on bodhicitta. Mhm. Remember the verse from, I think I quoted it earlier, from the King of Concentrations Sutra, or the King of the Raja Samadhi Sutra. It says, yeah, bodhisattvas should not know and practice many things. If bodhisattvas know and practice one thing, then all other qualities, all other accomplishments will come into the palm of their hand with ease. And what is that one thing? It is great compassion, he says. So there are the Buddhas saying, although the Mahayana is so vast, there's so many different kinds of practices. But if there's one thing to focus on, then everything else will be accomplished. Mm. It's great compassion, compassion and for all sentient beings, the wish to free all sentient beings from suffering. So of course, remember, bodhicitta possesses two aspirations, the causal aspiration and then the accompanying or the companion aspiration. So the causal aspiration is great compassion. So when you're meditating on bodhicitta, by the way, you're also, of course, meditating on great compassion. So thinking, so what it says about in that sutra about, great compassion, if you meditate on that, if you practice that, make that your way of life, then everything else will be accomplished, by the way. It's the same with bodhicitta. You generate the attitude of bodhicitta. Just practice that. Everything else will be accomplished. Mm. And then we can also think, I mean, this is what all the Buddhas of the past, this is what Shakyamuni Buddha meditated on for lifetimes before becoming enlightened. This is this is the main practice of Shakyamuni Buddha. This is the main practice of Nagarjuna, of Shantideva, of all the lineage gurus. This is the main practice of, Chandrakirti, Dharmakirti, Dignaga, and then down to Atisha, Guru Rinpoche. They all meditate on bodhicitta. Not to mention our own teachers who we directly met. This is the main practice of the Dalai Lama. Of Lama Geshe, of Lama Zopa Rinpoche. So in that way, we can also think all the benefit we've received from, from Buddhist teachings, whatever benefit we receive from Buddhist teachings, that's all the result of bodhicitta, no? All comes from Shakyamuni Buddha having generated bodhicitta, and His Holiness Dalai Lama having generated bodhicitta, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, whoever your own main teachers are, or whatever teachings you've received from books or otherwise, all comes from the bodhicitta of those Buddhist masters. They have mucus coming from bodhicitta, no? Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, then you can think all the sutras, all the Heart Sutra, all the Golden Light Sutra, Sangata Sutra, the King of Concentration Sutra, any sutra, any Buddhist teachings you've read, all comes from bodhicitta. From the being who spoke that, the Shakyamuni Buddha who spoke the sutras, the other Indian pundits who wrote commentaries on, then even, down to His Holiness Dalai Lama or other teachers who've given commentaries on, been made into books. All of that comes from their mind of bodhicitta, wishing to benefit sentient beings, and in order to do that, achieving enlightenment. Mm. So then, by us meditating on bodhicitta, gradually we can offer the same benefit to others. So in that way, just think of some of the benefits and how worthwhile it is to meditate on bodhicitta today. Mm. Okay, so you can gradually relax your attention, and we'll take a 10-minute break. Okay, let's continue. Yeah. So we start with equanimity. Yeah, we'll do these first four now. Equanimity. Well, we'll see how far we get. I don't know. But then recognizing all sentient beings have been your mothers. And then both the ordinary and special ways of recollecting their kindness, and then generating the wish to repay their kindness. So yeah, we'll see how far we get in a half an hour. We take a little break. Yeah, so just resume. We pick up where we left off. So visualizing ourselves surrounded by all sentient beings. And divided in three groups of friends, strangers, and antagonists, enemies. So whereas ordinarily we're bias, we have bias in favor of those we like, friends and family, and then against those we dislike, people who've harmed us or offended us, hurt us in different ways. And then we tend to ordinarily have kind of a sort of neutral disregard for strangers. So the objective of this first step, generating equanimity, is to generate. Well, the problem is if we don't level out this bias first, then as we generate bodhicitta, we have easily have bodhicitta focused on friends and family, but not at all concerned about enemies or antagonists, or maybe even others. So, which is not that's not complete. So to generate loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta in a way that universally extends to all without impartiality, then first we have to level out our attitude, our caring. And so try to generate a mind that's equally concerned with all, irregardless of how they treat us. So it's unconditional caring about others. So to do that, we need to reduce our kind of biased concern and attachment for friends and family, and then forgive those who've harmed us, and then increase our concern for them, and then in general generate a feeling of more closeness with all sentient beings, especially all the strangers and enemies, and equal caring for them. So there's different meditations, different things to contemplate to generate equanimity. First is that, yeah, and here it can help to visualize, and let's do this maybe. Visualize in front of you one representative from each of these groups. So one friend, imagine placing in front of you, sitting facing towards you, one friend, one stranger, and one antagonist or enemy. Then we can ask, is it the same that, is it true? Sorry, is it true that each of these three, friend, stranger, antagonist, are the same as me in having suffering, different forms of dissatisfaction, unpleasant, painful experiences in body and mind, all the way up to, death and rebirth, being under the control of karma and afflictive emotions and so forth. Is it true that they have suffering in the same way as I have? So generate an understanding of your own experience of suffering, and then ask, is it true with regard to the friend, and then the stranger, and then also the enemy? We'll do that for a few minutes. And then is it the same that these three are the same? I mean, is it also the case that these three are the same as me in wishing to have well-being and happiness and whatever that means to them? So do they have a fundamentally, yeah, a fundamental wish for well-being and happiness, just as I do? And then we can reduce our sort of attachment towards friends and family or bias towards them by recognizing how, yeah, that uh, kind of positive relationship we have with them now is not, it hasn't always been that way. That in the past, those whom we're close to, we feel naturally feel affection for or feel supported by in the past and in this life, and definitely in past lives. It hasn't always been like that. Sometimes they've harmed us or been antagonists, and for most of the time, they've been strangers to us, if we think in the scale of many past lives. So that's one way we can contemplate for a couple minutes in relation to the group of friends. So begin with the one you're visualizing in front. And another way to contemplate, maybe you can also use, is that they can't, this friend, no matter how kind they are to us, they can't fundamentally give us happiness, give us lasting happiness. That's something we have to develop ourselves from within. And so to put this kind of, it'd be unfair and unrealistic to put this kind of expectation that they will bring me uh, fundamentally and in the long term, they'll bring me happiness and ultimate satisfaction. So try to think in these two ways for a few minutes. Mm. And then with regard to the enemies or the antagonists, and we can think similarly how they haven't always been, we haven't always been in this kind of relationship with them, where there's kind of animosity or negative feelings. That in the past, they've also been in this life or past lives, they've also been helpful, or friends, and supportive to me. And in most lives, they've been strangers. And in the future, it's the same. Also, with regard to the friends, that these roles can change. So it's just very temporary, just a happenstance of current, circumstances that, yeah, that we've been harmed by them or are in this antagonistic relationship with them. And then also, in addition, we can think that they can't fundamentally um, cause me suffering or harm. Primarily, our suffering comes from our own karma that we've created, and also the nature of the mind is that which is clear and knowing. So no matter what they do, it can't destroy our potential for enlightenment, our potential for well-being and happiness. Those things are primarily in our own hands. So thinking this way, try to reduce the kind of um, negative feelings towards them or animosity for this individual enemy and then the entire group of antagonists. Mm. And then another way to think to generate equanimity is that, not only from our own perspective, from the point of view of us as an individual, then these three groups of beings and these three individuals, they change roles for us within one life. Enemy can become a friend or a stranger. A stranger can become a friend or enemy. A friend can become an enemy or a stranger. So within one life, these roles change. Definitely from life to life, they all change. So there's no great significance about in this life, I relate to this one as a friend, this one as an enemy, this one as a stranger. But then, so not only from our own perspective, but then we can also think from the perspective of others. Then the one we consider a friend in relation to someone else is an enemy, antagonist. The one we consider an antagonist in relation to other people, in the eyes of other people, they're a dear friend or a stranger. The ones we see as strangers in the eyes of others, they're dear friends or, hated enemies. So from our own perspective, over time, these three rules change. From the perspective of others, even right now, all three are similar. And there's nothing more, especially significant about our own kind of the way we relate to each of them. So in this way also we can generate this more objective kind of overview perspective and seeing all the three in front of us and then, more broadly, beings of all three groups as being the same and having the same regard towards all of them evenly. Mm. So then having generated somewhat, kind of evened out the degree of concern for, these three, all beings that we ordinarily divide up. So then we can begin on the next contemplation that all beings have been our mothers in past life. So of course, mother is used here because for most people, that's one of the kindest people and most selflessly, kind, caring, helpful people, supportive people in their lives. So I think use that as kind of kind of an ideal. But if the purpose is think of whatever person has been kindest to you, most helpful, most selflessly caring, kind, affectionate, supportive to you in this life, whether it's been your mother, father, grandparent, a friend, whomever. but to use that person as an example and then recognize how because we've had infinite past lives, and each of those lives, there's been people who have been kind to us and taken care of us and, um, made possible our very life, had given birth to us as our mother, and then fed us as an infant, and clothed us, cleaned us, cared for us when we were, totally helpless as an infant or later as an elderly person or as an invalid. So think how, in not only in this life, have our mother or another person been incredibly helpful to us, but in past lives as well. And because we've had infinite past lives, there have been infinite sentient beings who've been similarly kind to us, although we can't remember. Mm. So at first, just recognizing that fact. Then later we think of, we'll think of how kind they've been to us. But first, just recognizing that. And therefore, because, we've had infinite past lives, there have been other sentient beings, infinite other sentient beings who have been kind to us in each of those lives, then there's no sentient being we can point to and conclusively say, that person has never been my kind mother or father or brother or sister, friend, and so forth. Mm. So in this way, contemplate this, recognizing that all sentient beings have been your mothers or have been kind to you in a similar way. Mm. So now you can if you need to take a short break, just 2 or 3 minutes. You can relax your attention and stand up, move around a bit if you need to. Mm, mm, Okay, let's continue. Mm. So then, although by this logic, that we've had infinite past lives, um, in many of those lives, we've had someone's been our mother, because yeah, each time we're born as an animal, especially a mammal, and you have a mother that cares for you. As a human being, of course, some kind of gods, some kind of hungry ghosts, also hell beings, probably not. And then, of course, the gods of the formless realms don't have a mother. Gods of the form realms, probably not also. But yeah, but it's not the case that in every life we've had a mother who's cared for us, but in many of them we have. And then also because it's possible that the same sentient being, and likely, has been our mother, multiple times. It's not like just each sentient, there's a sentient being who's only our mother in one life and then never again in another. So by this logic that we've had infinite past lives, you can't really establish 100% that every sentient being has been our mother, but definitely you can establish there have been many sentient beings have been our kind mother, father, friend, family, grandparent, and so forth. And therefore, we can't point to any sentient being and conclusively conclude that they haven't been as kind to us as our mother of this life or the most, dear person to us in this life. Mm. But the contemplation is to extrapolate that, think that every sentient being, every animal, every hell being means every animal means every insect, every fish, every bird, every human being, of course, in this, and not only planet Earth, wherever there might be human beings, animals, sentient beings, and other planets, other world systems, known to us and unknown to us, and then every hungry ghost, uh, every hell being, the hot hells, cold hells, surrounding hells. So every type of hell being, every god, every demigod. So in short, every sentient being without excluding one, to think by this logic how they've all been um, a kind mother, just like. And here another reasoning to use is that just like, you know, whoever is most kind to us in this life, our mother or another, then eventually, 100 years from now, they will have died and we will have died and taken rebirth. They will have taken rebirth. We will have taken rebirth. And even if we're born in the same neighborhood or, cross paths or in the same school or something, then we won't recognize them. We won't recognize that we had any special connection with them in a past life, and they won't recognize us, right? But that doesn't change the fact that in this life, they're incredibly helpful to us and cared about us and cared for us in a profound way. So just like that, then, although in this life, other sentient beings, other strangers, enemies, we don't recognize as having been kind to us, in some past life, that doesn't change the fact that they have been. Mm. So yeah, so in these couple ways, then also contemplate a bit more on this second step, recognizing that all sentient beings have been your kind mothers. And so I'm trying to identify them in that way, look at them in that way. Mm. And then we'll move to the next step, the recollecting their kindness. So here begin with your mother or another person who was, exceptionally kind to you in this life, and just reflect on that first, all the different ways they were kind to you. Mm. So especially with our mother, we have to use our imagination because there's so many things we can't remember. So remember how, yeah, I mean, thinking how she carried us in her womb for 9 months and then went through all the pain of childbirth and giving birth to us. And then from the time we were born, fed us, nursed us from her own breast or with, baby milk and baby food, and got up in the night, to put us back to sleep again and again, and then cleaned us whenever we, you know, need to use the toilet, cleaned our diapers again and again, and clothed us, and then put us to sleep, fed us, again and again for many years, how we couldn't do anything for ourselves in the first months and years of life. So like that, think how we're totally dependent on the care from our mother. And then extrapolating to other sentient beings. So I think every sentient being has similarly cared for me in some life, in some past lifetime, just as my mother of this life or other, grandparent, father, spouse, friend. So think in these ordinary ways how every sentient being has been kind to me, selflessly cared for me, enabled my every, well-being, happiness, survival in some lifetime. Mm. So this is an ordinary way of thinking about their kindness. And then a special way is thinking how, all of the, well, in one way, every virtuous thought that comes to mind is a result of the enlightened activity of the Buddhas. It's kind of through the influence of the enlightened activity of the Buddha. So every virtuous karma we've created is something compelled by, inspired by, directly or indirectly, influence of an enlightened being. And so every form of well-being and happiness um, that we have is all like part of the enlightened activity of enlightened beings. And all enlightened beings, they become enlightened in dependence upon great compassion. And they generate great compassion and bodhicitta in dependence upon observing suffering sentient beings and having affection for, concern for each and every sentient being. So in that way, all the Buddhas, they become enlightened, whatever enlightened beings there are. They all, and then the Dharma that they teach, then the Sangha that they establish, all comes about in dependence upon compassion. That all comes about in dependence. All the compassion comes about in dependence upon sentient beings. Each and every sentient being, because only by observing each and every sentient being and having compassion for them, the wish to free them from suffering, and therefore, and the wish to achieve enlightenment in order to free them from suffering, then any enlightened being becomes enlightened. So in that way, then all the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, all the benefit we receive from the Buddha's teachings, all comes about in dependence upon sentient beings, each and every sentient being. So in that way, also think about this kind of special way that they've been kind to us. And then generate the wish to repay their kindness. So reflecting how, our mother of this life or another, someone who's been, others who have been kind to us in this life. Maybe we begin with that. And then reflecting on that, generate the wish to repay their kindness, seeing how they're bereft of so much happiness and well-being, and how they experience suffering, and how they've been, and yet combined with how they've been so kind to us, then generate the wish to repay, to use one's life, this life and future lives, to repay their kindness. And then extend that out to, imagining those who've been similarly kind to me in my immediate previous life. May I repay their kindness. Those who've been kind to me in the life before that, the life before that. And eventually, it comes to every sentient being who's been kind to me directly, indirectly, was profoundly, selflessly kind of supportive of me as my mother or other caregivers of this life. Then may I, um, reflecting how beneficial that's been, then may I repay their kindness, doing something to free them from suffering and to bring them well-being and happiness. So try to generate then the wish to repay their kindness for about 5 minutes. You can relax your attention there. And we'll take another 10-minute break. Mm, Yeah, before we resume, I meant to say actually, um, yeah, everyone. I mean, you know, we're each at different kind of stages in the way we relate to all these bodhicitta in general, and then you know each of these different meditations that are part of the methods to generate bodhicitta. So actually, even when we were in one of the first steps, thinking about how all sentient beings have been our mother, I mean that's quite difficult, kind of thing to get your, I mean, idea to sort of get your head around or to accept, because there's many different aspects involved to it. Like, you know, do past and future lives exist, first of all? So but in general, you know, as we're doing the different stages of the meditation, of course, I have to guide just kind of in one way. But if there are other things that come to mind or other things, you know, just come to mind in general, you can also, that seem significant and important for you to focus on and contemplate. That's fine, right? That's also okay, whether it's directly related to this or if it's, you know, just tangential somehow. You can use this, you know, this space of meditating together in different ways according to your own needs. It's fine. Um, okay, so let's continue where we left off. So we're going to the next slide now. So yeah, mainly just to recap, we looked at what is bodhicitta, some of the benefits of generating the attitude of bodhicitta, and then this kind of preliminary step to either method for generating bodhicitta of equanimity. You know, equanimity, that contemplation is not included in either the sevenfold cause and effect method or the equalizing, the changing self and others method, but it's considered an important preliminary to either of those. And then the first three steps of the sevenfold cause and effect method for generating bodhicitta. So what we did, recognizing all sentient beings have been your mother, remembering their kindness, and then generating the wish to repay their kindness. So now we'll move on to, come on, my cursor's, I'm trying to turn my cursor off or something. Hold on. I think I have to select here. Oops, no, I can't see you all. Let's do this. Well, now we'll go on to the three, okay. So the first three steps of the equalizing and exchanging self and others method of generating bodhicitta. Contemplating the equality that exists between self and others. So this is, as opposed to generating equal sense of concern, it's trying to generate kind of as much concern for others as we have for ourselves. So like equalizing the degree of concern we have for self and others, whereas ordinarily we have primarily much more concern for ourselves and very little concern for others. So trying to equalize that. And then later we work on exchanging that. So yeah, anyway, we'll come to that. So contemplating the equality, and that's just to contrast it with the equanimity that the first step of the contemplation. And then recognizing the many faults resulting from self-cherishing or selfishness. So think about the faults of selfishness, and then the benefits of cherishing others. So these three contemplations are next. So get comfortable again, and then yeah, bring your mind to the space where we left off before the break. Remember, we are contemplating generating the wish to repay the kindness of others. Those who have been kind to us in this life and countless past lives. So how each sentient being has been a kind mother, father, grandparent, friend, spouse, child, and so forth. And then generating the wish to repay their kindness to us. You know, sometimes we talk about the benefits of gratitude. There's not much about, gratitude expressly in most Buddhist teachings, but this is one of the points where it's most pronounced. This contemplation, remembering the kindness of others and wishing to repay their kindness, is really a meditation on gratitude. And yeah, one of the some of the times we most easily and naturally generate gratitude in life is when we feel the most vulnerable or the most weak and the most helpless. And then others, even give us a little bit of help. We naturally feel so grateful for that because we feel, ourselves, kind of what can I do? Totally helpless. So it helps to think about some of those times when you've been really sick, maybe have a high fever, have to undergo an operation, or maybe are lost somewhere, have no idea where you are, like your car breaks down by the side of the road or something, you don't know what to do. Those kind of situations where you kind of feel completely helpless and then someone helps you. So of course, the first year or two of our life, we were like that all the time as an infant, but we can't remember that. So to think about some of those situations you can remember, you're completely helpless, and then someone, helps you, and how amazingly kind you feel that is. How grateful we are for that assistance. And then out of that, wishing to repay, that kindness. So that's the kind of attitude to generate here. Mm. So this contemplating the equality that exists between self and others. So here we begin again by just reflecting how others, each other sentient being is the same as us in experiencing suffering, difficulty, pain, dissatisfaction, and then is the same as us in having the wish for happiness. So they're the same as us in having suffering and wishing to be free from that, and then wishing to have well-being and happiness that they don't have. So we can just start by remembering that again. We already contemplated it earlier. But think how all these sentient beings visualized around us, friends, enemies, and strangers, are equal to us in that way. Mm. And then additionally, we can think how um, not only they have a wish to be free from suffering and have happiness, but they have the same potential for those as we do, and the same right to those as we do. So how their wish for, they have the same potential to be free from suffering and to have happiness up to full enlightenment. They have the same right as we do to be free from suffering and have every form of well-being, temporal and ultimate, up to enlightenment. Maybe contemplate those for a couple minutes. Is that true? Mm. And then another way to generate kind of equal concern for the welfare of others as to that of ourselves is to, essentially we could think, why is my happiness and well-being or my freedom from suffering more important than that of anyone else's? Right? Maybe to me it is because I'm me, right? And others are other, right? But there's no real deeper reason than that, right? So in relation to others, then, in relation to one other person, they are the I, the self, and I am the other. And then in relation to, another person, I'm the other, and they are the self. So if we think from the perspective of others, to each of them, their own well-being is as important as mine is to me. So, you know, from the perspective of others, then their wish for happiness and to be free from suffering is more important than mine. And what's more is there's nothing more true about my perspective than their perspective. No, they're just two different perspectives. So in that way, like in relation to others, then I'm the other and they are the self. So their welfare is equally important to mine. And then in terms of number, I'm only one. Others are, infinite, billions of human beings alone, not to mention all the animals, trillions with all the animals. And then not to mention other world systems. So in number, like the collective welfare of others is incredibly much greater than my own. So looking at it in an objective way is infinitely more important. So in that way, try to equalize, you know, shift the degree of concern you have for yourself versus that of others. And try to generate at least the equal degree of concern you have for others as you have for yourself. Mm. And then we'll move on to the next, recognizing the many faults resulting from self-cherishing, or the faults of a selfish attitude, self-centered attitude. So here, yeah, the points related to this are very extensive. We can't go through them all, but to mention some of the main ones is that, well, one is that all of our every instance of anger of jealousy, arrogant pride, of even low self-esteem, and attachment, greed. These all arise from a self-centered attitude, selfish attitude, focusing exclusively on what we want, what we like, our own likes and dislikes, with a kind of total disregard for others. So exclusively concerned about our own kind of, um, yeah, opinions and needs in a destructive way, right? That doesn't care about those of others. And this is the source for all of the afflictive emotions. So every afflictive emotion we've given rise to, disturbing thought, all arises from the self-centered attitude. So this is one. And then all the negative karma we've created, every instance of harming others. So of course, with each of these assertions, you can ask, is this true or not? Is this really the case or not? That's one way to meditate on them. But all the destructive, negative karma we've created, every time we've killed, lied, stolen things, um, adultery, and then harsh speech, slander, all arises from selfish concern. And then all the results of those negative karmas we've created in this life and past lives. So have arisen also from selfish concern. So in that way, every suffering or experience we've had arises from selfish attitude, self-centered attitude. That's looking on the scale of, past lives and karma. And then afflictive emotions we can see in just this life. So first, just take a few minutes, think about the faults of the self-centered attitude in that way, or in those ways, that they give rise to all of afflictive emotions. Is that true or not? We can look at afflictive emotions and see, was it motivated by a selfish concern or not? And then thereby they produce all the karma. We can look at different negative karmas we've created in this life and ask, were they motivated by the selfish concern or not? And then if we really feel, suffering experiences we have that befall us in this life are the result of karma, then we can extrapolate to see that, well, then I created that karma. Just like in this life, I can see in past lives, I must have also created karma due to selfish concern. Now I'm experiencing the results of that. So in that way, every suffering experience we have, we experience that befalls us as a result of this self-centered attitude. So reflect on that in whatever way is suitable for you for a few minutes. Mm. So then we can relax your attention for a couple minutes. And stand up, move around if you need to. Okay, let's continue. Um, mm, so also just we can look at times, in our lives when we felt very just totally self-centered, just thinking about ourselves alone. Oftentimes when we feel stressed or under pressure, uh, or for different, yeah, for other reasons also, just kind of oblivious to others or have strong desire for something. So we can see when when our minds are filled with this kind of selfish concern, totally self-centered, then um, yeah, then if something unfortunate happens to us, then it seems like a huge deal. It seems completely overwhelming. Um, mm, so we more easily feel overwhelmed. And then also others, just like if we think about other people we've been around who are completely self-centered, self-absorbed, then we feel unseen by them and unheard, not understood, or not, maybe like they're not even interested in us. And how kind of, yeah, you don't, it can be hurtful, and you also just don't trust the person. So like that, when we're self-centered, self-absorbed, then we don't connect with other people. Then we don't care about them. Then they don't feel seen by us, heard by us. So they don't trust us, and don't like to be around us. So it's difficult then to connect, have friendships, and be close with other people. Also, it leads us into harming people, either intentionally or unintentionally. So in these couple ways, maybe think about a little bit more about the drawbacks of the selfish attitude. Mm. And then, then the next, recognizing the many good qualities that result from cherishing others. Right. So thinking about the benefits of cherishing others, having an altruistic attitude, caring about others. So here again, it's similar to the previous one, except it's the opposite, right? So when we care about others, then we easily give rise to compassion and loving kindness. When we see the suffering of others, we give rise to compassion because we're caring about them and we wish for them to be free from suffering. And that compassion in the very moment is most beneficial to us, right? Of course, in the long term, it can benefit others, but right immediately, it's a, it's a fulfilling state of mind for ourselves. And then it gives rise to loving kindness and affection, which is one of the greatest kind of joys we can ordinary experience in life. Caring about, being close to, having a loving affection for others. So it brings this kind of incredible satisfaction and joy. By the way, it's not our aim, but it happens. And then also just like think about all the benefits that all the people who've cared about you, who selflessly have been selflessly caring about you, how grateful you are for that, then other people feel that way towards us. The more we have, selfless concern for others, then others trust us, they like us, they admire us, they want to meet us again and again. So then we form so many kind of rich, wholesome friendships, connections with others. And then not to mention we accumulate merit, all the virtuous things we do, practicing generosity, practicing the morality of not harming and benefiting others, practicing patience, joyous effort in practicing virtue, all that comes about from caring about others. And then, up to rebirth, good rebirth and future lives, and then enlightenment, all comes about. So we can think about the very short-term, temporal, immediate benefits to us, benefits to others, and then long-term benefits for us, benefits of others. And this attitude, cherishing others. Mm. So here the idea is to, seeing all the faults of the selfish attitude, cherishing ourselves alone at the cost of caring about others, and then seeing all the benefits of cherishing others, then to generate a determination to reduce, eliminate, and not follow this selfish attitude, and to maximize, to develop as much as we can caring about, selfless caring about others. And then to try to, so exchanging self and others. So here meaning exchange the degree of concern we ordinarily have for ourselves, say like 80, 90%, place that on others, and the degree of concern we ordinarily have for others, universal, other sentient beings, say, 5, 10%, to place that on ourselves. So try to practice that just for a couple minutes, exchanging the degree of concern for all the reasons we've talked about before, then the degree of concern, where we put the emphasis of our, concern. So exchange the self and others. So try to generate this kind of altruistic mind, recognizing all the benefits and the joy that comes from cherishing others, and generating this mind, cherishing others. Mm. So next we'll practice Tonglen. So you should all be familiar with the visualization already. So here, remember in the sevenfold cause and effect method for generating bodhicitta, after there's remembering one's mother, the kindness of one's mothers, and then wishing to repay their kindness. Then there's generating loving affection for them, and then generating compassion for them. So those two are combined with these the giving and taking. So the fourth step in the exchanging self and others method is in one step, giving and taking. Here it's made into two steps. So first is taking, which is meditation on compassion. So taking, involving the visualization that will build up your compassion, and then giving, involving the visualization to build up the love that wishes others happiness. So we can meditate on those briefly, each just one at a time, and then combine them with the breath and the visualization on the breath. So first imagine, remember this visualization of all sentient beings seated around you. And then remembering how, they've been kind to us in past lives as our mother, father, and others. and wishing to repay that kindness, remembering the drawbacks of selfish attitude and the great benefits of cherishing others. So then thinking how all these sentient beings and this that we have direct connection with in this life, that have been kind to us in this life, those that have been kind to us in other past lives, how they have so many different sufferings, illnesses, old age, depression, loneliness, anger, stress, all different, difficulties in body and mind. So then we visualize our own self-centered attitude, our own selfish attitude as like a black ball at our heart, recognizing this is the source of all my problems in this life, in past lives. As long as I cherish this selfish attitude, I'll never be free from suffering. So then we try to think, may the suffering of others ripen upon me, and thereby may they be free from it. And then each time you inhale, imagine, so you can visualize. Again, you might visualize a friend, enemy, and stranger, like we did before, one of each in front of you. And begin with the friend. Actually, you can begin with yourself, although we don't have so much time, but if you like, you can begin with yourself. Otherwise, begin with a friend. Each time you inhale, imagine drawing their suffering. Imagine, so think, may their suffering ripen upon me. As you inhale, imagine drawing their suffering out of them, like drawing out, and then it flows out of them like black soot or smoke. And then it flows into you. And as it flows into you, it becomes like a lightning bolt or a powerful laser beam. And then it strikes this black ball of selfishness, self-cherishing at your heart, and diminishes it and gradually destroys it. So visualizing in that way, thinking that way, then there's a meditation on compassion. May others be free from suffering. May I free them from suffering. May their suffering ripen upon me. And then as it does, it doesn't actually cause us more suffering. Rather, it strikes the self-cherishing at our heart and diminishes and then destroys it. So meditate like that for a couple minutes. Mm. So then we move to the next, giving or sending. So then think how these other sentient beings, especially the three, one friend, one stranger, one enemy, visualize in front of you, how they're bereft of happiness, how they've been kind to us in this life and countless past lives, how they're bereft and wishing to repay their kindness. We wish to give them, may I give them happiness, all the different forms of happiness that they're that they don't that they don't have, up to full enlightenment. So then we imagine giving away first our possessions, and then our body, and then our roots of virtue. So with each exhalation, imagine sending out, offering to them your possessions, even your body, and even your roots, your merits, your positive karma and merit. And imagine it flows out from you in the form of like a white or golden kind of liquid light. And then as it reaches them, it transforms into whatever would bring them the most satisfaction, most benefit. So with each exhalation, for a couple minutes, then like that, practice giving. So this is combined with loving, loving kindness, wishing for them to have well-being and happiness. Mm. So then actually the next would be to combine those both together with each breath. But since we're short of time, we'll go to the next, which is generating the extraordinary attitude. Here's this altruistic attitude, or this, it's actually more like the exceptional attitude, thinking not only that may, all sentient beings be free from suffering and have well-being and happiness, but taking on personal responsibility, thinking I must, do whatever I can to personally free sentient beings from suffering and establish some happiness in whatever way, in whatever way I can in this life and future lives. So it's this exceptional attitude. It's exceptional in that not only is wishing for that, but it's taking personal responsibility. So thinking, yeah, may I free all sentient beings from every form of suffering, from all the oceans of samsaric suffering, and establish them in perfect happiness. So try to generate that attitude or contemplate, in whatever is most relevant for you related to that attitude, or whatever degree or form it makes sense to you. Mm. And then finally, generate the attitude of bodhicitta. So the actual wish to achieve full enlightenment in order to free all sentient beings from suffering and establish them in perfect happiness. So here, the mind, you focus on your own future enlightenment, recognizing, in whatever way you understand, your potential to achieve full enlightenment, to be completely free of every fault, because they all arise from the afflictive emotions, which are rooted in ignorance, a fundamental misunderstanding, grasping at inherent existence. And so it's possible to eliminate that with wisdom. And then based on wisdom and compassion, then one can increase from life to life, increase every positive quality infinitely. So focusing on one's own future enlightenment and wishing to achieve that in order to most effectively work for the welfare of other sentient beings. So in that way, spend a couple minutes generating actual bodhicitta. Mm. So relax your attention there. And we'll dedicate. Um, what do we have for dedication prayers? Okay, we can use these. So think of all the merit we've generated in this course in general, especially today, the practice day, and rejoice in one's own efforts and the efforts of all the others in the course, and then the efforts of all sentient beings in general, all the virtuous things, other ordinary sentient beings like ourselves do, and then also all the merits created by Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and other holy beings. So we rejoice in all that. So thinking all this merit gathered together, then we dedicate in the following way. Due to this virtue, may I quickly become a Guru Buddha and lead all transmigratory beings without exception to that state. May the precious supreme Bodhichitta not yet born arise. May that arisen not decline, but increase more and more. May the precious view of emptiness not yet born arise. May that arisen not decline, but increase more and more. By these merits, my transmigratory beings attain the state of all seeing, subdue the enemy of faults, and be freed from the ocean of samsara, disturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. And then before we read these verses from Shantideva, then, yeah, bring to mind any other personal prayers or dedications you'd like to make. Bring those to mind. Or you can also say them out loud if you like. So may all this be fulfilled, all those virtuous prayers be fulfilled in accordance with your wishes. And then, of course, all the different crises we see in the world today, from global climate, global warming, climate destruction, pollution, and then the wars in Ukraine, and the war in Gaza and the West Bank, the conflicts, the famine of the people in Gaza, and then other conflicts, natural disasters, all those suffering from natural disasters, illness. So all these different forms of suffering, not to mention of the animal realms, the hell realms, and so forth. May all beings be freed from every form of suffering and the cause of suffering, and have every form of well-being and happiness and the cause of those. And then seeing that, myself was empty of existing from my own side. Um, yeah, let's say by the force of all the merits that we've created, which are empty from their own side, may we, who are empty from our own side, achieve the state of full enlightenment, which is empty from its own side, and lead all sentient beings who are empty from their own side to that state of full enlightenment, which is empty from its own side by ourselves alone, or empty from our own side. So to combine the understanding of emptiness with the dedication, as Lama Zopa Rinpoche recommends, in order to preserve all the merit. And then finally, we can conclude with these verses from the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. Oh, sorry, first from the King of Prayers. I fully dedicate all these virtues to be able to train just like the hero Manjushri, who knows reality, and just like Samantabhadra as well. I fully dedicate all my roots of virtue with the dedication praises the best by the all gone that by all the gone beyond victors of the three times in order to have good conduct. May the blind see forms, may the deaf hear sounds, may the naked find clothing. The hungry find food, may the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness and prosperity. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments, and may every disease in the world never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting one another. May no living creature ever suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled, or their minds ever be depressed. If in those who encounter me a faithful or an angry thought arises, may that eternally become the source for fulfilling all their wishes. May all those who say bad things to me or cause me any other harm, and those who mock and insult me have the fortune to fully awaken. May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. May a rain of food and drink descend to clear away the pain of thirst and hunger, and during the eon of famine, may I myself change into food and drink. May I become an inexhaustible treasure for those who are poor and destitute. May I turn into all things they could need, and may these be placed close beside them. May I be a protector for those without one, a guide for all travelers on the way. May I be a bridge, a boat, and a ship for all who wish to cross the ocean. May I be an island for those who seek one, and a lamp for those desiring light. May I be a bed for all who wish to rest, and a servant for all who want a servant, and until they pass away from pain. May I also be the source of life for all the realms of varied beings that reach into the ends of space, just like space and the great elements such as earth. May I always support the life of all the boundless creatures for as long as space remains and for as long as sentient beings remain. Until then, may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Then for His Holiness Dalai Lama's long life, the wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, the incomparably kind, supreme Tenzin Gyatso, may you have a long life and all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. Savior of the land of snow, teachings and transmigratory beings, who extensively clarifies the path that unifies emptiness and compassion. To the lotus holder, Tenzin Gyatso, I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. Yep, and then may a swift reincarnation, unmistaken reincarnation of Kyabjin Lama Zopa Rinpoche swiftly appear and show the aspect of studying and training, practicing and teaching, just as even more, in an even more inspiring and beneficial way than before. Yeah, and may the Buddha Dharma flourish on the world, and all teachers who benefit sentient beings have long, stable lives. And sure, it may all be well. And especially may the center is hosting this event, Land of Medicine Buddha, and also Ocean of Compassion. May the centers be free from every obstacle and have every supportive condition in terms of volunteers, staff, sponsors, students, and everything that's needed for all their activities and dharma to benefit sentient beings to grow and flourish more and more. Okay, that's all. And thank you all for participating. Yeah, and hope you have a good week. And yeah, you can spend more time meditating. You know, we had to kind of move quickly through many of those steps, but yeah, it's quite a long. I mean, meditation, no. But the idea is not that to meditate on bodhicitta, you have to go through all of those steps every time, but rather it's that some days you spend more time, you become familiar with each of those steps. You know, you spend time on one day and one the other day, and then just glance very quickly on the others, and then gradually you become familiar with all of them, so that even just spending a short time, it moves the heart in some way when you think of each of those different steps. And then you can do the whole process in a short time. Yeah, as needed. Anyway, hope you enjoyed, and yeah, hope you'll. So this is the end. I guess there's still the self-assessment. Some of you have done it already that I sent out. Some I haven't. That's the last thing. So I'll send those back as they come in. And then I think next week we start the next module in Discovering Buddhism, which is like, I think it's transforming the mind. Yeah, it's on Lojong. Anyway, yeah, you can find out more information on the websites. Okay, I think that's all. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.